Andrea, have you ever had your fortune told or been to like a person like
I
Magnolia?
have done a tarot reading, but not a fortune. But yes, I have had a tarot card reading.
Well, that's a big one of this garage sale mysteries, which I'll say this is one I have not seen before, so it was interesting, and it was Steve Basic's is his favorite, right?
That is what he could remember from. So
Right.
probably with the caveat, from what he recalled, he liked the camping trip.
Yes. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts because this is, like I say, your favorite one has not been my favorite. So what do you say we talk about it?
Let's go.
All right. Well, this is Eric.
This is Andrea.
Hallmark Mysteries
And more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark Channel.
All right. Well, we have a date set for Mystery Island's new movie. I don't know if we had that last time, but it's going to be March 13th. So I did see that on the Hallmark website. So that would be, again, they're doing the Thursday release. So maybe it's going well, or maybe people are watching it that next day on the Friday. But still, they're sticking with that Thursday release. So maybe it will change once The Way Home is complete, but we'll see.
So what's interesting for me was I was told a little while ago when I had heard that this was coming because I'd known it for a little while, but it was expected to be a Hallmark Plus release, kind of like
Oh,
Aurora
yeah.
and Mistletoe, not
Interesting.
a network. And so something maybe just because they have nothing else coming down, that's where it.
Actually, The Way Home's going to be finished by the 13th because I just looked up the dates. So that wouldn't even be the case so they are just sticking with this Thursday release for whatever reason. So,
I
and
don't
again,
know.
they've put the mystery movies, they were on Sundays originally, which I loved. I loved the Sundays. Then they moved to Fridays. Now they're moving to Thursdays. So I think they're just trying to figure out their flow there. But it makes sense now with the Hallmark Plus that they wouldn't do a Sunday release because if people are watching them the next day, Monday is probably
Right.
not a super ideal day to
But
watch it.
I think from a
So
broadcast standpoint, Sunday is a very good appointment TV night.
it is. And
What night was
you're up against some big hitters though.
what
You
night
know,
was
White Lotus is back on.
your Murder She Wrote?
That was a Sunday.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it got switched to Thursday towards the later years, and Angela
Uh,
was not happy. So, yeah.
maybe someone from Hallmark was like, "Well, it worked for Murder She Wrote."
Well, it didn't. That was them pushing her out the
Right.
door. There's a whole bunch. If you watch the last episode of Murder She Wrote and you really geek out on like the episode itself was very much what was happening to the show. It's really poetic. So I would highly recommend watching that because it was Angela being pushed out and she put it into the show as a statement. It's pretty cool.
I guess
All
I'll have to
right.
give that one a watch.
I know. Well, let's dive into Garage Sale Mysteries, one of my favorite, or if not my favorite series. Novel Murders is the movie we are reviewing today, and this premiered June 4th, 2016. This was movie 6 of 16 in the wheel of Garage Sale. When an impoverished man enters Rags to Riches, a consignment shop where Jennifer sells the gems she's found at garage sales, and asks to have an item home delivered, Jennifer agrees. Upon her arrival at his rundown apartment, this is on Hallmark's website, Jennifer finds the man murdered. As the police survey the crime scene, Jennifer cannot help but think there is something familiar about the details of the killing, and soon realizes the victim's cold-blooded demise is a reenactment of a murder in a classic mystery novel. So that one I did pull not from IMDb, but right from the Hallmark website. So this movie, let me tell you, I have strong feelings. This is a 5 out of 5. This one is probably one of my favorites in the Garage Sale series. I was really excited when I saw it was this. I do remember the title. I remembered instantly this mystery. So I was very excited that we get to kind of talk about this one. So there's 3 murders and an attempted 4th. So there's so many plot points happening, and they were all interesting. They all tie together. You know, we have the Jason and Logan camping trip, and then Jen and Shannon getting to do a little mother-daughter evening. We have Danny had something interesting to do, which sometimes she doesn't always. She had, her tarot reader slash psychic and the elder abuse case happening. And then we have the only thing that I will say that I wish was, and I'm sure this was a scheduling thing, but we had a sub coroner, because usually we have the guy that Jen always brings the coffee to, and he always cracks the funny jokes. I think they're funny. They're super corny, but they're really fun. He was not there. So I'm assuming he might have had a scheduling conflict, because he usually was in every single garage sale mystery. So personally, love this one all around. Again, this was like I feel like every mystery should dive into this one, because there was a lot happening, but it all tied together, and it didn't feel like we were left, sometimes you're left and you're like, they didn't really tie that up. But I think they tied everything up really well, because there were so many murders and they all connected into the books. I liked that element. I really hope you like this one, because this is like the best that I think garage sale has to offer. So please tell me you loved it. Oh no.
Andrea, I look at Jennifer, and by the way, her daughter is Hannah, not Shannon. I look at her and I think, oh, she's white privilege, and she just kind of like whatever stomps.
That is all of them, though.
But it was a 5 out of 5 for me. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. I'll say I have not seen all the garage sale mysteries. I've seen, I think, the first couple, which this is pretty early on. It's like the fourth.
I said six. Yep, okay. It was 6 out of 16.
So it's fairly early on, but it just was, like you said, it was really good. Had a lot going on. It all tied together. Some of the times you had these secondary stories and you're just like, they're filling time.
Right.
And it didn't. Even the camping trip, which you'd be like, that's kind of random, but it fit, right? Yeah. They made it fit, and it tied in, because then you have, the whole GPS thing, like, where are you and everything. So I thought it was great. And while you've seen them all, so you obviously have a much better understanding. I like the way that, and this is sort of one of the things, I understand it's the cozy mystery, but despite her going off solving the case, basically, the whole time she works with Linwood, and which is great, because she was like, I'm going to do this. Okay. And he's like, all right, but don't do this. Like, they're just not her running off and doing her own thing, which I will say, and I'm going off memory, I think she kind of does a little more in some other episodes maybe than this one, but this one locks that.
Her and Linwood work together, because they're at the diner quite a bit.
They're just great together, because it's like, all right, this, that, and the other, and then she's like, all right, I called, like, she calls him, hey, this is what I found out, rather than doing all the steps to solve it. So I really like that. I will say, seeing though Steve Bacic clean shaven was a little disconcerting to me, because I'm like, that's not Steve Bacic. So there's that. I know you like your cozy. Her house is fantastic, and there's a fireplace apparently in every room, including the bedroom, right? Yeah. So it was just a very cozy, despite being massive, just cozy, which I really liked. To your point, is also Agatha Christie, right? Before, when we talked about Hannah, I said, okay, I'm partial because I really like cooking shows, and it tied to it, so I immediately was just pulled in. But this one, when it's like, hey, this is a mystery that modeled it after Agatha Christie, I'm like, oh yes. And then bringing in the Sherlock Holmes and just making it be this whole murder mystery, the classics, which I like reading those. So it was awesome. Just really, really liked the actual mystery. The question I have for you, though, because once again, you've seen this, I believe I've seen Danny before kind of getting either dating or fixed up. Like, does she have literally like, I attract killers vibe to her or something? Like, poor Danny.
Most of the series, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be the killer. Because it tends to happen a lot.
So as soon as Danny dates a guy, he kills someone?
Yes. Yeah. Well, usually. But then towards the end, they kind of do match her up with someone. I did want to say, because you mentioned this, that fireplace in the bedroom. So Christopher Blaha and Marcel Nichols, their movie in 2022, their Christmas movie, We Wish You a Merry
All
Christmas.
right.
If you go and look at that hotel that they stayed in, I'm pretty sure that was the same set, only
Ah,
they broke it up into a hotel, and that was actually their house. So when I was watching that set in, with the We Wish You a Merry Christmas, I was like, that looks like Jen's from Garage Sale Mystery, only their bedroom, only they split it into two rooms because it was such a massive, again, as
right.
you had said, massive house, massive room. So you'll have to watch that, everyone, and see, because I'm pretty sure they are the same set.
I did get a little vibe of Jennifer's privilege when she's like, "Oh, here you can have that only for $10." Where Danny's like, "Come on, we need to make money," because Danny, I don't think is in the same socioeconomic class as Jen, and Jen's just like, "Oh, my hobby store," whereas Danny really is like, "Hey, I let's make some money here. Let's take this girl's little fancy china for $10 and sell it for 2,000." Like Danny was not super opposed to it, where Jen's like, "Nah, it's okay, it's okay." But like I said, I agree with you. I was not super looking forward to this one because it's not my
Told you, Garage
favorite,
Sale is so
and
good.
5 out of 5.
Yeah, I
Can't
told you.
lie.
Well, Mystery Minute. How did the mystery land? So for me, of course, because I have seen this so much, I knew who the killer was. But thinking back to my first time, I'm pretty sure I thought it was the Sherlock Holmes professor. The first time I watched it, I was thinking, yes, it's him, it's him. And obviously he gets killed. And I was like, oh, I guess it's not him. That first murder, though, I was like, oh, that like pulls on my heartstring with like this sweet old man. Because, apparently I'm a sucker for the sweet old man. Comes in with the birds, and he's sitting out there on the bench, and then he gets killed for no reason. Like that one, I was like, oh, but obviously it tied into a book. But that one pulled at my heartstrings a bit, I will say. I don't remember that the first time watching it, but now as I'm older, I'm like, oh. But I personally loved this mystery. I love that they gave us a serial killer-ish. Because I don't recall too many mysteries. I'm trying to think of like any that we've had multiple murders like this. Have we had as many as
Well, doesn't Mystery One with Wolfman allude
yeah, but
to it, but it
never in
doesn't,
a
it's not built into the mystery.
right. And so
Right.
that's why there was so much happening because it
Yeah,
was a
like
lot.
if you ever get two murders, that's
Yeah,
a
which
lot
that
for
one
everything, right?
happens.
Usually it's
Hmm.
one,
Yeah.
certainly not 3.5.
Yeah. And then that locked room with her at the end with, the poison coming out of the vent. I do recall that one because they do end up with a locked room mystery, I think, later in their wheelhouse with the person. I won't spoil that in case we watch it because I also like that. I like so many of the garage sales.
Locked
So
room
that one's another good one.
is a
So
good
all of
mystery
those
device.
I find it's a great way to have the mystery. So what about you? How'd you like the mysteries?
Like I said, I thought it was great. The
Did you know the
building off.
killer?
Um, I thought I did early on, and then I was like, but then I did.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was the professor. I'll talk about that a little later. But I kind of figured it was, and part of it was my little knowledge of garage sale that, oh, she's trying to fix her up with Danny.
Oh.
He's shady, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Um, I thought it was great. Like I say, it just played out really well. I loved the way they investigated it. Thought that was good. Like I mentioned before, the way that Linwood's not an incompetent cop either. Like he knows stuff where he comes back at her, is like, oh yeah, I went to all the tuxedo shops to find out what size shoe he wears. Like he's competent, which I really enjoyed. I do have a question though. Is a hologram like this writer dude can create? I don't know how to create a hologram. Granted, I'm not a serial killer either, but the ability to create a hologram for this particular thing, I have a feeling would take a little more time. So I found the hologram a little silly, but that's the only
I
thing.
loved
Like
it. I thought it
it's
was like
okay, but if you
high
think about,
tech,
yeah, but he's a writer and whatever. But it does for
especially for
like the closed
2016.
room. It is great for the closed room because that's the thing. You have to be like, oh, how do you have this closed room and is able to have the dialogue while he's off getting his latte with his his alibi. So I thought that was great.
Well, the romance roundup. So for this one, this is like again our married couple, which there's not obviously very many besides cases and garage sale that have a married couple. So I enjoy it. I think it's just that steady kind of that great family unit because the kids are kind of involved in these as well. So I like that the kids are a little bit older. So they do, they can be involved in some sense. Because obviously Hannah's now I think in this one, I don't know if she's in college already or out of college, but like that's where she is eventually by the end of this series. And then Logan is also high school and then eventually into college as well. And so that portrays its nice kind of family, let's solve this together, but like not go overboard on the details of it because they are kids at the same time. So I like how Jason also supports her. He's always like, I don't want you to do this, but I know you're going to do it. So
And you're good at it.
yeah. And so he's going to support her. And they always have their little family dinners and usually invite people over. And Detective Linwood and his wife come over sometimes, and Danny and whoever she's dating at the time. So all of those components, I think, we don't need that like hot and heavy romance every time. Or are they going to get together? Are they not? I think this works just as well in a series because you have kind of the friends solving it together, and then her relationship with Detective Linwood, and those are some angles that I think are great. What about you?
I like the fact that, which for Danny's own stability, that she's like, oh, I understand you're trying to fix me up with this guy. He's pretty cool. But I met the guy at, I forget where she said she met him at, some other one of her clubs, who's probably a little more nerdy and everything, who's probably a little lying. So even though she was getting set up with a serial killer, she didn't like actually go on a date. So she didn't necessarily have a heartbreak over it. So I thought that was pretty good.
Well, character corner. I picked Maggie, who was playing the fake psychic and tarot reader. Her name is Fiona Vroom. She's also in Three Wiser Men and a Baby and a Boy. She's been in Curious Cater, Forbidden Fruit, both the wedding or all the Wedding Veil movies, and then like just pile after pile after pile when I looked through what she's been in, because she probably looks familiar if you
Right.
see Maggie. She's definitely a character actor on Hallmark, and so that was kind of fun to have her come in and play that role. And then I also enjoyed how the woman, that she was kind of the elder abuse case, and how she kind of was like, well, I don't really care even if it's wrong. You could see that was like, again, it was kind of like that throwaway, maybe a scene or character, but like you're like, yeah, you can see how someone in this case, this older woman, how she can be like, yeah, I feel connected to my husband through her, even though I know it probably isn't him. That's how I feel connected to him. So then you're kind of left with this like, well, is this a bad thing then? If this person obviously taking the money is, but like that she is feeling connected to him, even though it might not be true, but she still feels comfort there. So it leaves you with some moral dilemmas as well. So I thought that storyline again could be a throwaway storyline, but it really did make you think, and you're kind of like, huh, what do I actually think of this situation? Because I'm sure it's happening all over. Obviously not, you don't want them to take money, but like hey, if this is how they're feeling connected, let them. Like it's not hurting anyone.
So I'm probably reading way too much into it,
Okay.
but I don't think it's throwaway because you have her sort of as lonely older person who's finding someone who, like you say, is connecting, giving her a little hope, giving her a little something. But go back to the very first murder with the guy who, it's a similar thing, right? So he's this lonely guy who's a loner
With the birds,
who just
loves the
meets
birds.
someone who actually comes in and feeds the birds with him. So he gets his little buddy. And
Yeah.
you see that, like that scene when he's like, when he doesn't show up, he's like looking around, where is my bird feeding friend?
Yeah.
So I think, once again, probably reading way too into it, but I found like that connected, and it was like sort of a statement on like when you get old, like be careful, people are going to kill you, steal your money, whatever. It's like you're just very vulnerable. So
Yeah.
I found like they actually tie together. But my character corner was Professor Miles Fowler, who's played by Gerald Plunkett, who was the Shakespeare specialist, whatever,
Sherlock
expert,
Holmes.
or Sherlock Holmes, excuse me. And I found him just hilarious. He was great. His smugness, that's why I knew it wasn't him, because he was just the way he did it without being like the smug of, oh, catch me if you can. It was just comical. Like, you think I'm killing someone? And he's like, I'm somebody who spends all my time thinking about killing people. And just found it funny when Linwood was, interrogating him because it was just absolutely fantastic. He was like giddy. Um, then also like when he's talking to Jennifer and it's like a real live murder took place. He doesn't care. He's like viewing it in the whole aspect of literature and, his whole world there. I just thought that guy played that character fantastic. So it was great. He was just the way he dealt with amusement. And like I said, I never viewed him as a red herring um, to be just because of the way he played it as well. And he's also been in several uh, other movies. He was in Gourmet Detective, which we just did. He was in Aurora Tea Garden, one of the originals. And recently he was just in Family Practice Mysteries. And once again, he's side characters. I'd have to watch it again to know exactly who he was. So, but that was my guy. I would have also had Fiona Vroom because I love her. I just, at the end, because I love her character. Like, while I'm not the hugest fan of the three wise men and whatever, I think they're okay. I think her character is one of the best on there, especially in the first one. And
Plays Paul
seeing her,
Campbell's girlfriend, if people are wondering.
yes, seeing her play someone who turns out to be bad was kind of like, oh, sad.
Well, Hallmark trivia time. So mine is both. So this is Henley is the name of that older man. So both Jennifer and Linwood miss a big clue in Henley's death. He obviously fell when he died, yet the cocktail glass with the whiskey in it was upright with liquor still in it. And Jennifer even picks up the glass and sniffs it, but misses the obvious. It would have probably fallen and spilled and cracked and all that. So
Yes and no, because it was because of the book. It was staged, right? Because it was swapping it out, taking out
this
the
was from
liquid
IMDb. So this
the
is
thing.
totally.
Yeah. So yeah. So I hear where you're coming from, but I do think it's there. But it should have been like they should have been aware that it was staged, right?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't. You're right. It would be because that's. It's funny in my notes. I'm like, why is the glass not spilled?
Mm.
Like when she picked it
Mhm.
up, like
Mhm.
it should be, you know,
Tipped over.
whatever if he just keeled over. So, but then as when they explained it and referenced the book about how they swapped the poison glass for the real one, I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Now, in reality, it probably was just an oversight that I'm giving them too much credit for, but whatever.
Oh, well, what
Well,
do you got?
mine is that Ava and Lori Laughlin play mother and daughter-in-law in When Calls the Heart, whereas here they're mother and daughter. So
Another IMDb thing.
yes, that one is an IMDb, which you believe everything there.
Oh, love
Um,
it. Well, we do.
the other thing, it's not really trivia, but I will say we had talked about this a while ago that I thought it would be great to kind of pull a little Aurora Tea Garden with this series, and a way to continue it was have the daughter become the sleuth. And she, at the end of this one, drops that down like, I think I'm going to start reading some murder mystery books. I think I kind of like what you do, Mom. So her actual character set it up to have Garage Sale Mystery 2, and our thing we had thrown out was like somehow Jennifer is murdered, so her, you know, daughter is trying to solve that in the background with doing whatever sleuths, and maybe Steve Bacic is more involved as the dad and all that. So you could bring the cast back and explain why uh, Lori Laughlin's gone, but Ava, and she's perfect age now, right? And she's been in some of the pretty good Hallmark movies, I think. So not trivia, but a Hallmark wish right there.
Well, Hallmark and chill. I have a Murder She Wrote season 5, episode 1, JB as in Jailbird. A chance encounter with her old friend Michael Haggerty leaves Jessica standing over a dead Bulgarian diplomat and accused of murder. So this one has a few different dead bodies. And Michael Haggerty, if anyone is a Murder She Wrote fan, will know he's in off and on throughout the years as her friend, and he's kind of the character you're like, is he good? Is he not good? That's the kind of line that he likes to walk. So recommend it. And I'd also recommend seeing a Michael Haggerty if you have not watched one of the Murder She Wrote with him in it. It's kind of fun. He's a great actor. That's not his acting name, but that's his Murder She Wrote name.
Well, I'll go with, and I'm a fan of them because I think they're so great. Just go watch an Agatha Christie, one of the Agatha Christie movies, which, by the way, Mystery Island, the first one, was a closed room thing because they were on an island, right? So no one could escape. So it sort of is the same basic device. I will say, yes, not as good as a classic Agatha Christie. Some of the great ones there, and then there were none. Great one. Go watch that or something like that. Agatha Christie, though, her stories are just so good. It's worth it to have your BritBox subscription, because then you can watch Poirot, Miss Marple, or just some of the Agatha Christie ones. So that's what I would say. Classic, great mysteries. That a lot of these things are all essentially based off of that trickle down over the course of time. Which I won't deny. I won't deny. And I sent you, I was watching that, we had, which we'll get into Fan Corner, someone, sent us a thing saying, hey, you should watch Wildcats, I think it is, Wild Cards, Wild something, which I started watching, and I'm 8 episodes in, and
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. But I sent you the clip where they even reference, Angela. So she is essentially a modern mystery. She is the queen.
She is. All right. What else do you have in Fan Corner?
Well, we got another message on the podcast, and it's going back to the Hannah Swenson from a fan from Louisville, Kentucky. 5045 is all we know, but so 50.
Don't give out their number.
Well, no, that's all it says. 5045. Okay. It's a random type thing.
Oh, okay.
I debated on watching the new Hannah Swenson because I like the series. I think the series has run its course, kind of aligning with where you, I think, are feeling. But since so much is up in the air at Hallmark, and it's a new mystery, I watched. I thought it was good. Dolores has always been too much for me, but she's written that way in the books, and I've read the whole series. So kind of like what we were just talking about last episode with Victoria versus Dolores, right? Some people think she's too much, but to her, like she's saying, she's a lot in the books too. So.
Well, next week, we are going to again come into The Way Home, Spencer Sisters, episode 8. And then for our joint one together, we're going to do Lovuary recap. So we're going to dive into the 4 movies that aired in February on the Hallmark Channel. And so we'll share kind of our highs, our lows for each movie, and then maybe our ranking of the 4 movies from February. And I'll share my poll results, because I usually do a poll result for each of those too, and see what everyone thought of the movies in case you haven't watched them all, which I know people don't always watch out of Christmas season. So you can kind of get a feel for maybe which ones to hit if you like those, and which ones we would not recommend. So we'll see if we're aligned. We usually are, but we'll see.
Yeah, we usually align, but it seems like lately you're being, I don't want to say a little more critical, but
I have given out like really good rankings besides one movie.
I'm just saying in general, for you and me, how we're usually very aligned. Whereas ones I'm like, oh, I found the cuteness in it, and you're like, some pacing and some there, especially over the holiday, right? So
I gave out really good stars. I think personally, there's only one movie that it really wasn't my jam. So we'll have to find out what that is. All right. Well, have a great week, Eric, and we'll chat again next week.
And I'm going to sit and watch the final episode of Murder, She Wrote to find out what I don't have all the knowledge you have, so maybe some of it's going to go over
You might need
to
Google it too, and then you'll kind of see, and it's pretty cool.
I'll just ask you questions.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you later, Andrea. Go watch some basketball.
About that I will. Bye.